evening and being in our new room today, and we got plenty of room going on, so we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Just as a reminder, for Spanish or Korean translation, we have a Zoom link that's provided on our agenda and on our website. So for those that are Zooming wherever they're at in Zooming land. We'll go on, and I'd like to ask one of our guests in our audience tonight, Ms. Paulette Chafee, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stand and place your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so it's always nice to come here and look and see all these beautiful flowers and balloons and people. We start out our meetings usually like this, right? By the time we end our meetings, not quite so many people. So feel free to stay or just stay through the recognitions, and then after that we'll give you guys a little bit of time. So on that note, we'll go ahead and we're going to start with Dr. Lee. Where is she? Oh, there she is. Yes, we're going to start, I believe, right? Is that where I'm at? Yeah. Starting with our All the Arts presentation.
Are we doing the mic over here, or are we doing the mic? This one? I'm going to have you stand up here while Dr. Bob says a few words.
This is really an evening to celebrate our partnerships and the many good organizations, the caring people, the exceptional teachers, and the exceptional educational groups that all help to make our students successful and that support so many good things. Art in particular has a long history here in Fullerton that goes back decades and decades. Not that we're that old, but from previous generations. It's something that we've valued. We value it not only as it's something that helps kids in terms of their success, the plethora of artistic jobs, especially in California, and everything from the movie industry and graphic design, the arts and the music and a whole variety of things. But I think one of the things that we've recognized is not just about a job, it's not just about a profession, but that this sense of creativity that can be taught and can be teased out and can be grown. And so what we expect and what we hope for every single child is that that creativity is developed that actually makes their lives better, not just now, but into their futures as adults, and brings a certain happiness. And what our arts, all the kids organization has done is helped to make this happen. And so I want to thank you. By the way, a special thanks to Kelly and Wendy that have provided incredible leadership through all of this time. And I know Wendy was a retired teacher from Fiscal. And now she's the president, and so we're very lucky to be able to work with her in this new capacity.
But Kelly's the fun one.
And Kelly is the fun one. Kelly is the fun one. And all the years of leadership that all of you have provided. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. Oh, no, we will run over very carefully. Anyway, so thank everyone. Thank you for having us here. It's like old family, to be honest.
Remember, but you can't hide.
Yeah. So my name is Wendy Lloyd Davis. I am the president, taking over from Laura Lynn Eschner for All the Arts for All the Kids Foundation. And I was talking to her today, and she began this organization in 1992. Mm-hmm. So this is our 30th birthday. And yes, I have been here the entire time. Our foundation is really based on the belief that the arts are a birthright for every child, and that is something that Laura Lynn really spoke often about. as the district, I know you have taken on the role of making sure that the arts are included and they're held in a high priority. To be honest, it's feet to the fire time. We've all been facing such a difficult couple years, but kids are the most resilient thing on this planet. So after this difficult time, it's been really good. Hi, Lauren. It's been really, and Charlie Moe. It's been really wonderful to see that the dedication of the district has put the programs back into the schools, as far as the stage, the mosaic lab, the clay lab, and particularly those 24 lessons that every child in the district gets. My notes. Our purpose really is to make sure that all of the children do receive all of the arts, and not just the ones whose parents can afford it. And that is how it has been so often. Fortunately, Fullerton stands by the fact that it is that birthright for every child. I was looking through different quotes, and we all know that art it's healing, it's a therapy. And there's so many quotes that say how rich it is, but nothing is better than that child who stands up at the end of a lesson. It's like, I am an artist. I'm an artist, I'm a sculptor, I'm a dancer, I'm a musician, I'm a singer, I'm a maker, I'm a breaker. And I don't know what happens to the joy that, how many here can say, I am one of those things? Excellent. But something happens, and that is our goal, to make sure that every child feels that joy all the way up through those adolescent years. So, do you want to go run and get our comically large check? Oh, yeah, Mrs. Bowers can bring it over. There you go. So aside from our comic check, we also provide, we've been adding it up, about $20,000 on top of this for PPE, for recorders. Because with COVID, you can't go blowing into the air.
Oh, right.
And we have other things that we've offered as well with training. We have Laura Lynn Eschner come back as a consultant when we can. And this is for you, a real check of $50,000. And we thank you for making sure that this stays where it needs to stay. Are you sure you got it?
Thank you guys so much. We so appreciate this. One of the favorite things when I think about art is the highest form of hope. And that's what you have to think of, is that with art, that heals children. I deal with children in trauma, and I know that art is that one thing that helps them through it, that gives them that hope forever. So thank you guys so much for all that you do. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
And we appreciate all the art supporters who have come out tonight to just cheer the foundation as well as the district on. I'm sorry to make you come back up again, but Wendy and Kelly, can I get you up here one last time? These two ladies have been pivotal in just making sure not just the logistics, but the vision is carried through. You need to stand in front of me. Ingrid, if you wouldn't mind coming up and helping me present just a bouquet of flowers in appreciation. This is countless hours of conversations behind the scenes. Wendy has never hesitated to pick up her phone. I think I text her in wee hours. I don't know. I've been... Yeah, and she's been so gracious to just be a thought partner in the process. Kelly's behind a lot of the creative efforts. Just as it's a thank you bouquet, sorry. It's okay. Yes. It's just a small token of our appreciation for the work behind the scenes you do to help the district in making sure that we are moving together as a team. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you guys again for all that you do. I remember back with my son and Laura Lynn, third grade, he drew the Heritage House at the Arboretum. Remember that field trip when they would go over to the Arboretum and draw it? And so with a Sharpie, he did that, and it was all by her encouraging him. And from that on, he was hooked on art. So it just takes that one person. So thank you guys so much. Thank you. All right. Okay. The Fullerton School District continues to cultivate, honor, and respect diverse cultures, especially cultures that represent our student population. We value strong relationships. We value the strong relationship that we have with the Korean community. We gratefully acknowledge the support from the Korean Education Center of Los Angeles as we maintain a steadfast commitment to bilingualism and biliteracy with the expansion of our dual language Korean program. Our students' very core is their identity rooted in their heritage, family traditions, and their culture. With the continued partnership of the Korean Education Center, we are proud to support this aspect of our students and help honor those traditions for our Korean families and educate others. I would like to introduce to you President Shin of the Korean Education Center of Los Angeles. President Shin has an esteemed history of service to the education about Korea, its culture, and language. Prior to his current work in Los Angeles, he served from 2012 to 15 as the president of the Korean Education Center in San Francisco. Whew. The Korean Education Center Los Angeles has been an instrumental partner in supporting our Korean language and cultural experiences in our district. We'd like to present this gift of gratitude and continued community and friendship on behalf of the Fullerton School District to the Korean Education Center of Los Angeles. Right, and this is, okay, Miss Park as well? Yes, so, hold this.
This honey is from one of our students who does an audition workshop.
Thank you.
It's organic raw honey. Okay. Yeah. We'll have him talk first. And then.
Thank you. Dear board members and educators and parents, my name is Ju-Sik Shin, the president of Korean Education Center in Los Angeles. I'm very happy to attend the Fullerton School District board meeting today to deliver a commendation for Superintendent Dr. Robert Pretka on behalf of the Korean government. And I sincerely thank President Beverly Berryman and board members for inviting me to these board meetings to discuss and decide on various important agendas. We know the Superintendent Dr. Robert Pretka high values biliteracy and bilingual education, which positively affect youth's intellectual and emotional growth. No wonder how his 6 children can speak various languages fluently, and I hope that they can speak Korean as well. If your students can speak Korean, they will be able to find jobs in Korean companies such as Samsung, LG, Hyundai Motors more easily, and enjoy Korean culture, K-pop, K-drama more easily and more deeply. Korean Education Center will also support Korean language classes so that the schools can operate Korean programs effectively. In the future, I look forward to working closely with the Fullerton School District and expect more exciting news about your continued effort in promoting the Korean language class and the Korean immersion program in your schools. Thank you so much. Thank you. have some more time? Okay, yes. The certificate of commendation is hereby awarded to Dr. Robert Pretka, Superintendent of Fullerton School District, in recognition of your great contribution to the development of national education with your excellent views of education and the profound commitment to teaching and training. Given these 12th days of December 2021, Yoon Eun-hye, Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Education, Republic of Korea.
Very honored, very honored. Thank you.
It's my
Pleasure. Thank you. Yesterday I was 53, so I have to pull out the glasses. I would like to personally welcome President Shin from the Korean Education Center. I met President Shin in 2019, pre-COVID, on a district field trip to the Korean Education Center and the Korean Cultural Center. I was moved by their hospitality and by your hospitality, kindness, and your willingness to partner with our district for the sake of our children. Our group not only learned about the Korean language programs in other local districts, but we immersed ourselves in an experience by engaging in a cultural craft activity, making a Korean lantern, and learned its significance in the Korean culture. A highlight of the trip was the time to sit with you, enjoy a meal, and talk and share. Since 2019, we have been working with the Korean Education Center to expand the Korean language in the Fullerton School District. The Korean Education Center awarded our district $30,000 to assist with the expansion of our Korean language and cultural programs. Thank you. Since then, we have added Korean to 2 of our junior highs and created an after-school Korean program, all taught by Jenny Shim. We are very grateful to the Korean Education Center and appreciate the partnership that we have established to join hands in promoting bilingualism and biliteracy and creating Korean language and cultural programs for our students. Thank you. We're very honored.
If I may say a few words, Dr. Bob Pleka, what can I say? So well deserving of this amazing award, which, by the way, is a very big deal. He continues to lead the charge in building up our programs with our Korean families and community partners, and he truly has a passion for this. He's constantly reaching out to people, individuals, building relationships, so not only do they feel heard, but it's for our kids, understanding that he wants to create a future for them that will bring opportunity and access. I can't be more proud of this award, really, because it was his idea to go to Los Angeles on this field trip. He came to me and said, do you know there's a Korean Education Center and a Culture Center in Los Angeles? And I said, wow, really? He often teaches me a thing or two about the Korean culture. So with that, Dr. Bob, we would like to, on behalf of Ed Services, honor you. We are so proud. We have a nice bouquet of flowers here. Or Linda, if you wouldn't mind coming up to, if you want, thank you. No. Yes. And our team has, this one. I just want the crowd to see how beautiful this is before we start giving it out. They're cookies that says, congratulations, Dr. Pleka. And we'll pass individually wrapped, of course, and we'll be passing this out to every guest here. Okay? Thank you, Dr. Bob. We're very proud of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Everyone, make sure you get your cookie. Are we continuing on now, or? Yeah? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. It's always wonderful to honor people and to extend our gratitude and our thankfulness, so thank you again. Okay. Dr. Bob, you have a presentation? No?
Again, this is a celebration of partnerships, and would like to take a moment to acknowledge our Boys and Girls Club, and would like to take a moment to thank Brett Ackerman as well. I think he and I maybe a year or two before, but over the last 10 years, I've had the pleasure to work with Brett. And we are celebrating many things, but one of the things that he did is provided through the Boys and Girls Club the bicycle helmets and the locks for our children who received some bikes for our Rising Stars. So I want to thank him for making that possible. But I also want to take a moment to acknowledge more than that. During COVID and the pandemic, Brett called me and he said, what can we do? Because we were struggling, obviously, to social distance. And Brett came up and he said, hey, we have facilities, we have teachers that can help to provide a safe place. And with partners like Brett, we were able to deal and address some of the really difficult times that we were having, especially last year. Since then, also the wonderful after-school programs that they provide year after year. And during times where it's hard to find people and hard to find staff, he continues to provide outstanding programs and after school with the Boys and Girls Club. So would like to thank Brett Ackerman and all the good work, and the Boys and Girls Club for all the good work. So if you could join me in a round of applause for him and the club. Thank you so much.
You want me to say something? I also want to thank you. We get to work together outside of this, and Brett has always been a wonderful partner in anything that happens. If you need anything, you can call Brett. I think I remember needing some computer parts or something once, and I called Brett, and my gosh, he had them for me. So thank you so much for everything. We so appreciate you. Absolutely. Do you need pictures now? Are you okay? Got it?
All right, we are very pleased to recognize 3 of our own Fullerton School District teachers tonight. These 3 teachers were nominated for the California League of Schools Region 11 Educators of the Year. This award is granted to educators who exemplify educational excellence, and they've made significant efforts to implement elements of educational reform in their classroom. These 3 nominees were nominated out of teachers throughout Los Angeles and Orange County. So this is a big deal. Our 3 teachers, if they could please come forward. Melanie Reich Herdina from Pacific Drive. And we have certificates and bouquets of flower. You'll have to stand right up front so we all can see you. Next, we have Jessica Goltra from Orangethorpe. You also have to stand right up front. And finally, we have Veronica Kraus from Maple. All right, I'm going to say a little bit more. These 3 teachers were nominated by their principals, and they were selected from a number of other applicants based on a written and a video application that had to be completed. And we're very excited to announce that Veronica Kraus, a 3rd grade Maple teacher, was awarded the Region 11 California League of Elementary Schools Teacher of the Year. Ms. Krause was nominated for her devotion and dedication to her students and her ability to make a difference. As the nominee selected to represent Region 11, which includes both Los Angeles and Orange counties, Ms. Krause will be subsequently honored at the California Legal School's Teaching with Technology conferences to be held in Monterey, California in March. At this conference, Ms. Krause will also be competing for the California League of Schools Educator of the Year for the entire state. So go Veronica. Please join me again in giving another great round of applause for our 3 nominees and for their award. Thank you.
Right? Yes, we rock, you guys. Thank you so much. All right, so now we will find our agenda here and figure out where we are. Put my glasses on. I think we're at our Superintendent's Report. Dr. Bob, it's your turn again.
I'm going to just keep it brief. Again, I want to just acknowledge all of the great partnerships. We appreciate all the people that every day help and support our kids. And we look forward to continuing to work with all of you in the future. And again, to celebrate our really diverse community with all these interests and talents and expertise. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, that was short. Okay, thank you. All right, moving along to information from our Board of Trustees. We'll start over here with Trustee Takar.
No, I'll also keep it brief. We've got a lot to cover tonight, but it's the energy tonight was amazing, and the energy in Fullerton School District is always so geared towards honoring our teachers so that our children can have the best future. So I'm thrilled, and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you. All right, Trustee Sugarman.
Good evening, and again, thank you, and congratulations to everyone.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
Much better.
Thank you. I wanted to reiterate something that was sent to the board from Dr. Lai, that we are now starting our registration for transitional kindergarten. And I want to make it clear to everyone who's listening in, you don't have to live in Fullerton to register for our transitional kindergarten. And it's a great program. Many school districts don't have it. So come and join our family and register for transitional kindergarten. Last board meeting, I was sharing some of the things that we found at CES, Consumer Electronics Showcase in Las Vegas. And someone had asked if what we found was mainly things using, new laptops or devices. No, no, no. We're looking for things to enrich the education of young children so that they are better equipped when they are in the higher grades. Learning that a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Learning to patiently listen to a story are skills that are important for students. So we found a Tony. And he comes with little figures. Some figures have stories. You just put the story on. You put the story on.
The ear. Gotta wake it up.
How to wake him up.
There you go.
Talk, Tony.
I'm Marshall. As Paw Patrol's fire dog, I'm fired up and ready for any rough rescue. Here's one of...
So you put on different characters and they tell different stories. That is not all Tony does. Tony can have, let's say, a friend in an upper grade. A friend in an upper grade record a story and send it down to you, a pal. It can also share other information. It can go home and parents can record songs or stories. We have a message for you tonight that I know you want to hear.
Hello. The Fullerton Education Foundation will host its first annual golf tournament on April 11th at the Alta Vista Country Club. You can find more information on www.fullertoneducationfoundation.org.
Shameless
Is that
plug.
great?
Shameless plug.
Student learning. We hope to see you there.
It can repeat too, but I won't make it.
You can loop it.
And I do want you to know that Tony was created right here in Southern California. And Tony not only has this wonderful product, but somebody besides Fullerton School District who fell in love with it is named LeVar Burton. Does anyone know who that is? Yes,
Rainbow.
he is Reading Rainbow. He's also from Star Trek. He also was in the movie Roots as the lead character. And he is actually wanting to sponsor part of this program. So he is coming personally to Richmond School, where he will read to the students. And we are very excited about this partnership. We are going to be a pilot program for Tony's. And not only that, we know that this is going to be something that enriches the education of our students. So, one more thing we brought back from CES. Thank you. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Hilda. Okay. All right. Trustee Meyer?
Okay. I was particularly shocked by the award that All the Arts gave to the district, because it's hard times for philanthropies right now, raising money, and for them to be able to do that and give that amount to us is pretty huge when you think of what's been happening in the last 2 years, trying to get money for organizations throughout the town. So kudos to them for that great award for our kids. And thank you, the Korean. I had a little chat with him because I know how to say something in Korean. and he was impressed that I had that one little saying that I have. So thank you very much for everything that you've done for our district. The rising stars that are coming out on Facebook, or that's just exciting to see those kids up there. Can't wait to really actually see them in their products. But thank you for sharing that with all of us. And have a happy Valentine's.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, so super exciting to see all of us here, and what makes this district so amazing is all of you. Again, the donation from All the Arts Foundation for all the kids. The Korean Education Center makes our district just thrive. And Brett also with the Boys and Girls Club, thank you for all your continuous support. I just wanted to kind of highlight this past weekend, STEM Nation. Dr. Lee and her team came out, was running from some baseball games to come out and bring my little one to STEM Nation. It's one of the first weekends, one of the first of the 3 weekends that are going to be happening here. So if you guys do come to Pack Drive, it was an awesome experience for the hour that I was here. I'm definitely going to come back and bring my boy. I'm going to cheat and come twice on the weekend. So don't tell anyone. But I definitely want to have the full experience. So I invite you guys all to also join in on that. Also attended the Coffee with the Principal at Valencia Park. It was an amazing. They did a collaboration with the principal from Nicholas, Dr. Gormas, and Dr. Munoz partnered to speak with the parents and the families there. So look out for some continuing collaboration with Nicholas and some of our other schools, feeder schools to that school. And then also a good kudos and shout out to Dr. Munoz over at Valencia Park for getting some donations and being able to enroll some kids into the West Fullerton Little League. He was able to find an anonymous donor that basically paid for the league fees for kids at Orangethorpe Elementary and at Valencia Park. So big kudos to that. You guys know how I'm really passionate about extracurricular activities, arts, sports, you name it, STEM, anything like that, robotics. It's kind of what really drives me and has that passion. Also, you'll see the block parties, and last and foremost with kicking off Black History Month this month. So I'm excited to go stop by to some of the schools and see kind of some of the activities that some of the teachers have in store for our kids. So with that, let's get this meeting going.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Lionel, remind us about the STEM Nation, the time and where it is. Saturday.
So Saturdays at Pacific Drives from 1 to 4.
There you go.
And also 8:30 till
8:30
till 12.
to 12. Yeah.
12.
So there's two sessions. Yeah.
There you go. Mark your calendars. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to add just a couple of things. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to just add one thing. Just wanted to remind people, every year we have the city comes together and through OC United pulls together a Love Fullerton Day where people come together and serve the community. So we have that coming up on April 23rd. So I just wanted to mark people's, because it's again on a Saturday and I know we get busy. So take a look at what's going on their website and see where you can go. I know that a lot of our schools participate. And that's a great day for people to be able to serve all kinds of different organizations in Fullerton. So thank you. Dr. Bob, I think that you had one more thing to add.
Yeah, my one job I failed. We have a Pathfinder commercial. It's really about helping kids identify the things that they are strong in, their assets that they bring, to foster that passion, develop efficacy, and help them maybe see a glimpse into their future. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lee for a small commercial.
A small commercial. It's Jason.
So, Fullerton School District's known for great schools and successful kids, but success is not just measured by test scores, but also what action students take for their future. And so, providing students the ability to take their personal actions towards happiness, or to be pathfinders is a goal. So Pathfinder is an initiative with 3 pillars to help students become self-aware and find their identity, to provide learning opportunities and experiences towards college and career readiness, and to make an impact in their community and to change the world. So these are kind of the pillars that you'll see in the commercial, but this is our only first commercial to share. Many more components are being built. We just want to give you a little taste, because as we see tonight, our community is built on strong passions, interests, and not only good at it, we excel at it. So this program initiative is meant to continue that journey and that process. So this is our commercial for Pathfinder.
I'm so tall. Am I in your way, you guys?
What do you want to be when you grow up? It's the question we're all asked since we start school.
But why wait until I'm all grown up to be what I hope to be?
I have passions, I have strengths, and I can start discovering who I am and who I'm meant to be in 8th grade.
And even when I'm younger. Through fun and challenging learning opportunities and experiences, the path to college and to my future careers can be illuminated.
With the goal of making an impact to our community and changing the world.
Because at the end of the day, when we grow up, what we all want to be is happy.
This is my journey, my philosophy, and these are our personal actions towards happiness.
This is Pathfinder. This is the Fullerton School District.
Started the program. One of the students actually came to visit me at Crittenton, where my day job, and she had no idea who I was, and just came in and wanted to talk about what our organization did for foster youth. And she did her report on Crittenton, and then ended up volunteering for us for many, many years. And I think she found her passion in social work. So again, it starts from, just one little stem, one little thing that they can ignite them, and it really does work. So thank you so much. And I made sure that I didn't tell her who I was, because I didn't want her to know. because I wanted to see if the program really worked, right? So thank you guys for all of that. So, okay. All right, we have some information from our associations. Do we have somebody from DLAC this evening? Not back there? Yes, we do?
I will be reading for Mrs. Nuncy. She's not here tonight, but I have something from her. Good evening, President Berryman, school board members, executive cabinet, superintendent Dr. Pletka, and all families present and those listening. Congratulations to Dr. Pletka. Today you are being recognized for your work on promoting bilingualism and biliteracy, as well as creating Korean language and culture programs for our students. Thank you for always keeping our students at the forefront of every project. DLAC invites you to our next meeting on February 18th at 9 a.m. at Nicholas Junior High. The Nicholas community is looking forward to extending a warm welcome to our board members, cabinet, and community. We will be sharing information regarding the Local Control Accountability Plan, Lcap, cultivating diversity, equity, and inclusion, and our FSD multilingual programs. We want to welcome our newest DLAC board member, Kyung Oh. She is an excellent addition to our board and will be representing our Korean community. We are grateful to Anna Paulino, Alma Chavez, Araceli Degante for their continued support as members of our DLAC board. We would also like to thank Dr. Julian Lee, Dr. Linda Soltero Ruiz, and Nadia Williams for their commitment to our multilingual learners and educational partners. Thank you, FSD, for your continued support in meeting all our children's needs. Sincerely, Elgeth Nuncy, DLAC President.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
And we do not have a PTA report, but we do have CSC, FIDA, and FESMA here tonight.
All right. So CSCA. Oh. Welcome back.
Good evening. Dr. Pletka, President Berryman, members of the board and cabinet, and also the service dog present. Marlene Acosta speaking on behalf of CSEA. COVID continues to affect our staff, students, and their families, sometimes quietly. Parents who contracted COVID may not have been fortunate to have paid time off from work. This lack of funds, as well as a high demand, directly affects their ability to easily purchase COVID tests to administer to their children. Without timely testing, students miss school and get behind. Gratefully, we have been able to provide COVID tests for those who need them. I heard many times from parents how thankful they were that schools could easily provide them tests. Staff who were symptomatic could easily continue to test at Pacific Drive and Ladera Vista or get a home test. It was convenient and helped keep sites fully staffed, as those who truly needed to be home were identified quickly. One simple gesture has made a big difference, as well as a recent change to the mandatory quarantine days. The number of COVID positive cases continues to decline, and we can only hope that the pattern continues. Unfortunately, some families have had family members hospitalized, or more tragically, have lost family members due to the illness. Those who care for you may be the same ones that are now in need of care. I was reminded of the phrase commonly associated with airline travel, to put your mask on first. To our staff, besides the pun of mask wearing, please take care of yourselves. Keep your cup full for your own well-being, and also that you may have enough to pour some into the cups of others. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge the additional stress load that we are all carrying, and do what you can to lessen that burden. The February District Social Emotional Learning newsletter is a great place to get some tips. I hope you take advantage of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So very important. FIDA?
Good evening, President Berryman, Board of Trustees, Dr. Pletka, Executive Board, teachers, parents, and guests. FSD teachers continue to teach in person and virtually and do the best they can with very fluctuating attendance. Our teachers have been amazing trying to keep a routine and things consistent for our students, still trying to teach, reteach, and mitigate learning loss among our very fluctuating student attendance. Our teachers are exhausted and frustrated, to say the least, but on a positive note, it appears that this latest COVID spike is waning. I would like to also acknowledge again the immense efforts of our teachers who manage independent study, especially office managers, office staff administrators, as well as our district program specialists who track and manage students on independent study. It's massive and almost impossible undertaking. It's not easy, and I would really like to acknowledge them as well, especially as our teachers. I'd like to give them a big round of applause for doing that, please. We are happy that some schools, including Rolling Hills and Raymond, were able to safely take our students to outdoor science camp this year. And I was one of the teachers who got to do that. And I will tell you that the kids had a glorious time. And it was wonderful to see them without masks on out in the mountains. Of course, we wore masks indoors and other places. But our Camp High Trails, the camp that we've been using for over 20 years, did an amazing job keeping kids in pods and just having a great time with their counselors. I can't tell you how wonderful it was, and I know that many other schools are going to be going this year. So thank you for supporting that and to making sure that it happened, because it was really touch and go there for a while. Every child was screened and tested before they went. It went smooth. We had no children test positive before we left, and it was fantastic. Our sixth graders had a wonderful experience, and they really truly grew. So can't tell you how wonderful that was. We continue to teach, and it is frustrating. And as you know, we are still concerned with inflation. While it really whittles away our purchasing power, teachers do get discouraged sometimes, and they are really sometimes struggling. As you know, FSD teachers are awesome, and they continue to make all our programs run well. And I also want to say thank you to all the arts too. Has been a wonderful continuation too as we continue to teach and get people back in routines, do learning loss and all that. So the inflation was a big deal, and I think it's going to continue to be a big concern for all of us. And I just wanted to say thank you too to our FSD, FTA bargaining team and Dr. Chad's team as well. We've been working hard, and it looks like we've come to agreement. So I hope that in the month to come that we have some very positive news to move us forward. And again, we restart next year. So to try to address our concerns. And again, on behalf of FTA, I want to say thank you for all that you do, and thank you to Dr. Pleka for leading us and the entire team. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Fesma?
Okay, and good evening, President Berryman and members of the board, as well as Superintendent Dr. Pleka and Cabinet. I'm Robin Gilligan, and I am the president of our Management Association. And I just want to share that last time I was here, I think it was in December, that I had shared about our Every Student Succeeding event, which was scheduled to happen in January. And as we know, January hit us a little harder than we thought. So we are scheduling a new date for that. We did talk about having it virtually, but we really felt like we wanted to honor our kids in person, and we felt that there is a difference in doing that versus doing it virtually, which we had done in the past. So we would rather postpone than to do it virtually. So that's kind of where we are right now. Trying to get everyone's calendars organized is a little bit of a challenge, but we will make that happen, whether that is in March or April, and then also working around other events that we know are happening around that time, such as the STEM Nation and other events. So you will get more information about that. We want to thank Dr. Pleka and congratulate him on his recognition with our Korean partners, as well as Dr. Lee, who I know has really done an amazing job fostering that relationship, and the team that is working with us to bring diversity and equity and inclusion opportunities to our students. So thank you, both of you, for bringing that, and for the teams that are working in our management association and supporting that. And then we are currently on the second stretch of the school year, which means most of our management team is working on summer and next year. So as you know, open enrollment is coming to a close, as well as making sure all of our intra-district transfers are being considered, and then making sure our parents know all of our learning opportunities and all the behind-the-scenes work that takes, and the different options that parents have to them for the remainder of this year as well as next year, and then more information to come on summer programming. So we're kind of in a new kind of time where we're not seeing as much of a impact to the COVID situation, and we are grateful of that. And today was a beautiful day outside, so we have lots to be blessed for. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now comes our time for public comments. The board meeting follows rules of decorum per board bylaw 9323. Persons who wish to comment on topics included on an open session agenda are invited to attend in person and submit public comment. The board limits the total time for public comment or public input to each item to 20 minutes. The total time allowed for public comment shall be 30 minutes. Public comments about an item that is on the agenda will be heard at the time the agenda item is considered by the board. Public comments about an item that is not on the posted agenda will be heard at the beginning of open session and called upon by the board president. No action or discussion may be taken on an item that is not posted on the agenda except as expressly authorized by law. Since the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda, such items will be referred to the superintendent for handling. Board members may request that an item be placed on a future agenda for further discussion. The board president and the superintendent will determine the best time and place to put an item on the agenda. At this time, I will entertain our public comments. We have a few here. So I'll call you up. You can come up. You'll have 3 minutes. Please let us know your name and then your concern. So most of the items that we have are for items that are not on the agenda. Scott Townley. Welcome. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening to the school board and the President Berryman. My name is Scott Townley. I reside at 863 North Woods. I'm a firefighter, and I've been on the front line of COVID-19 since the beginning. I responded to literally hundreds of calls of COVID-19. Not one of these has been for a child in the grade school area. My wife and I have lived in Fullerton for 38 years. Our children both went to the Fullerton School District schools, and now our grandchildren are attending schools here. I would like to speak to you tonight regarding the policy of having our young grade school children wear masks at school. I ask you to please consider the well-being of our children and my grandchildren. We have had issues in our family which have caused psychological issues with both of our grandkids due to the masks. Our 7-year-old is acting out and now has anxiety from wearing the masks and has a hard time going to school each day. Our pre-K grandchild hates the masks and does not understand them. He constantly has outbursts when his parents tell him he has to wear masks just to be around his friends. One day I had to rush down to Golden Hill and be with the principal and try to control my 7-year-old grandson as he was hysterical and would not go into school. What was the problem, we asked. He couldn't be around his friends with the masks. He didn't like the masks. The principal shared with me after we calmed him down and got him back in class that this is a common item in the school. He has problems with many children because of the masks and the psychological aspect against it. I'm also opposing State Bill 866 that gives minors the decision to give their own consent to vaccinate themselves. I implore you to let the parents make that decision and that you guys would please think about supporting that. My 7-year-old should not be making these kinds of decisions, and the parents should have the right to decide what is best for their children and what is best for the minor. I frequently travel to other states. These states are not having their children wear masks at school. I have relatives that have kids in other states, and their children have not worn masks, and they're doing just fine. As to SB 871, to vaccinate our grandkids under an emergency act is wrong. And I would ask you, as the school board, to oppose this mandate and to protect our children. Please honor their families' decisions and their grandchildren's decisions for their mental health. It should be a personal family decision. It should not be made by the government. Thank you for all of your work, and I do have the utmost respect for all of you as educators and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Amber Esposito? Esposito, sorry.
Hi, Dr. Pletka, the board. My name is Amber Esposito. This is my very first board meeting. I've never been to one. I kind of let things just kind of flow and let the cookies crumble as they may. I couldn't help but notice this, since this is my first visit here. The sign here on the right says, lift up your voice, and that's why I'm here. I am here to discuss what my neighbor, actually, hi, I live by you. My neighbor is here also to discuss. I am not anti-vaccine. I never have been. My kids are fully vaccinated, but the state of things with the recent legislature bills which he addressed, SB 871, which would mandate COVID vaccinations for our children and eliminate the personal exemption and medical exemption, is extremely concerning to me, my family, and lots of people I know in the community. I think that it should be the family's choice, particularly given that the vaccine is still under emergency use. We don't know the long-term effects, and given what we know about the effects on our children and the fairly low chance of severe illness, I believe that it should be the parent's choice to vaccinate or to not vaccinate. And also with the SB 866, which is what my neighbor also discussed, which is removing basically parental consent for children 12 and up, is extremely concerning as well. I think that sets an extremely dangerous precedent. You're circumventing the parents. So I raise my voice here on behalf of my own children and several children within the district. I know there are lots of parents that are either fearful to speak up or can't be here, so I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Amy Freeze.
Hello, my name is Amy Freeze. Good evening, Dr. Pletka, Board President Berryman, board members, cabinet, hello again. As a current FSD parent of 2 sons and a former FSD teacher myself, I am here to ask you to leave no stone unturned when it comes to speaking up to hold the line for parent choice and represent our FSD community with us. Dr. Pletka, thank you again for writing the letter to Governor Newsom and sharing what is at stake specifically for all families in regards to vaccine mandates. FSD trustees, we are still grateful for your yes votes to support our superintendent in writing and sending the letter to Governor Newsom. However, in just a few short weeks, things have changed again. 2 extremely concerning bills have been introduced, AB 866 and AB 871. If passed, AB 866 would give minors 12 years old and up full consent to make their own decisions for all vaccines and medicines, removing any parent consent and involvement. And if passed, AB 871 would mandate a vaccine under EUA for children as young as 5 years of age, and remove the personal belief exemption for any future California Department of Public Health mandated vaccines. So, yep, they're here. We knew this would happen. These bills will greatly affect children by taking away their rights for an in-person education, eliminate parent choice, lower enrollment drastically for the Fullerton School District, and many residents of our community, schools, and businesses will leave. please oppose these bills with us. Today, I request that you add the discussion of AB 866 and AB 871 and write a resolution urgently. Please consider any committees you can be a part of and oppose these bills. Please work with your fellow county and state district trustees and superintendents. I have learned committees are already forming to push these bills through, and so we must do everything we can to stop them and fast. I also ask that the masks be made optional for our district. We are told we must follow the mandates from the state, the county, or is it from our district? I know this is a tough spot for you to be in, but please continue to stand for parent choice. I am currently working with FSD parents and local state representatives. FSD parents have also joined up with other school districts, district parents, and their communities in the 29th district, which includes Anaheim, Brea, Buena Park, Chino Hills, City of Industry, Cypress, Diamond Bar, Fullerton and La Habra, and La Palma, Placentia, Rowland Heights, Stanton, Walnut, West Covina, and Yorba Linda, and many more. And some of those parents, even from other cities, are here with us today to support us. Thank you, new friends. I ask that you be a leading district once again and do all you can, leaving no stone unturned, to speak on parent choice for the Fullerton School District and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, our last public comment that I have is from Jennifer Gonzalez.
Hi, board members and Dr. Pletka. Thank you for having me here tonight. I want to say thank you, as Amy just shared, for hearing us the last time that many of us parents were here asking you to write a formal letter against the mandate. That said, I'm here again tonight, and before I start with the negative, I'm going to start with the positive. My third grader from Hermosa Drive Elementary is thrilled to be going to STEM Nation this Saturday. He's been chatting about it for months. And so we are really excited. Thank you for continuing programs like that for our children. We do appreciate those in-person opportunities. I will start by sharing, I also oppose SB 866 and SB 871. Many powerful points have been shared already. What I will add to that is SB 866, lowering the age of consent to age 12. The last time I checked, a 12-year-old is a minor and a 12-year-old is a child. What 12-year-old child has the capacity to make decisions related to medical care? It's ridiculous. It's unfair. It's unfair not only to us as parents, but more so to them as children. I ask that you protect them and help us to fight this Senate bill. When it comes to SB 871, the mandatory vaccination for in-person education, we are all taxpayers. We all should be afforded the opportunity to have our children have an in-person education. We've heard multiple comments tonight about how the fact that a virtual experience is not the same as an in-person one. We've all agreed to that tonight. So I ask that you also recognize that in relation to this bill, it doesn't make any sense, and it's not fair to our kids, the ones that we're all here for tonight. My main concern right now is related to the masking. I wanted to share a personal experience my son just had this last couple of weeks. We noticed a sore in the corner of his mouth, and I initially thought it was a cold sore, which he's had a couple of times this year. He's never experienced that in previous years. Over time, it was clear it wasn't going to go away, so I ended up taking him to his doctor. He was diagnosed with something called angular cheilitis. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that perfectly. But essentially, it's inflammation and painful sores around the corner of the mouth. If you Google it, risk factors specifically state online wearing dentures, which he's not, but also the use of masks. So when his doctor prescribed an antibiotic, I then called the school because I knew the mask was exacerbating it. The school nurse referred me to the district nurse, and I will say they were all very prompt in responding to me. I will say that in fairness. The district nurse all too quickly, though, shared with me that as long as I could get a doctor's note, my son could be without the mask until his sore healed. I should have noted that as a red flag. When I called his pediatrician's office advised that they simply are not writing a single note to not wear masks. I called our family doctor who's located here in Fullerton. He also stated there was no way he could write an exemption for the mask for school, not even for a few days while this wound healed. I called a third doctor who's a family friend, and she too shared that she simply could not help us with this. She shared further that the medical board sent out letters to all physicians stating that if any exemptions, either mask or vaccine exemptions, were written inappropriately, that licenses could be in jeopardy. I then followed up with our regular family doctor and my son's pediatrician, and they advised that they too have received this letter. What happened to Hippocratic Oath and protecting the health of our children? What my son experienced was very minor and treatable with the use of antibiotics for 5 days. What about the kids out there who don't have access to health care as easily as my son does, who don't have a parent who can take the time to take them to the doctor in the middle of the week, who have much more severe issues than my son has experienced? Those are the kids that we need to be thinking about when we have these blanket requirements for our children. The reality is, with masking, you have the power to decide whether or not you want to enforce it. I know it's not an easy decision. I know that it doesn't come without consequences, but the consequences are so far greater to our students. Our students are, as we heard tonight, suffering, truly suffering. And so I ask that you consider this. Consider making it optional to wear a mask at our district and support our children. So thank you for all that you guys are doing. Thank you for the steps you've already taken. We do appreciate it, but the fight continues, unfortunately. Next month, we enter our 3rd year of living in a COVID world.
Okay.
And it's time that we move forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of your public comments. We appreciate, and your voices are heard, and we do encourage people to advocate, as you see you need to. It sounds like you're continuing to advocate at the legislation level as well. I have found that lots of voices of people that actually are constituents of those that are elected into our state legislature will listen. So just make sure you guys are continuing to make your voices heard that way too. At that note, what I'm going to do is take a 5-minute little recess, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the rest of our meeting. Okay? 5 minutes. Yeah. been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the January 11th meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Perfect, okay. Agenda approval?
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, we approve the agenda. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Consent agenda, anyone have anything they want to point out or pull or talk about?
Of course. Would you
Of course.
show us the donations?
Of course
for
we do.
Since the last board meeting, it's item A on the consent agenda. And we thank our donors. We really appreciate people thinking of us and helping us.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anything on there, anybody? No? Okay. Thanks, staff, for answering all of our questions, and we appreciate the fact that when one of us asks a question, that you guys respond to all of us so that we all kind of hear the same information, so we really, really appreciate it. All right? So there's been was there a motion to consent? Okay, is there someone have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody have anything? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? No? Okay, moving along, guys. Okay, so we've got some discussion and action items. Oh, look at this. We have our audit report. Dr. Copeland. Look at that. We have it in our little trustee spot right here.
Yes.
Okay, we're on here. President Berryman, board members, Superintendent Pletka, cabinet, and guests. My name is Rob Coughlin, Assistant Superintendent, Business Services for the Fullerton School District, and I'm here tonight to submit the 2020-21 annual audit to the board for approval. Each of you has received a copy of this, had a chance to review it. If you have any questions, we can certainly answer those questions tonight. The auditor is not here tonight, possibly because I'm happy to report that Fullerton School District received a clean option, which is the best option opinion on its 2020 financial audit. And I will read this. According to the auditor, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Fullerton School District as of June 30th, 2021, and the respective changes in financial position and, where applicable, cash flows thereof for the fiscal year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. That's the auditor's way of saying, you did a great job, in so many words. The audit report, it's designed to express an opinion on the financial statements of the district. However, compliance is a large piece as well. All departments are involved in helping maintain a clean, in maintaining or achieving this clean opinion. Business Services works throughout the year with departments and our auditors. We were able to work remotely with our auditors for this year, and we issued our financial statements in advance of the deadline. So with that, I present to the board for your approval the audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Okay. All right, on that note, does anyone have anything?
Thank you. Thank you for your patience in answering some of my crazy questions. And I appreciate your time and dedication to make this a working, excellent budget.
Thank you. And
especially Melissa.
There were no
Nothing.
findings in student body
It's
funds.
crazy, yeah. Usually it's always that ASB account that comes up. Yep. Yeah, the second time. Yeah.
Second, last year too.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, your staff and everybody. And thank you for getting this to us ahead of time electronically.
Digitally.
So we were able to take a look at that. So thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the audit?
I move to accept the 2020 Audit Report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments or? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, still your show.
Okay, the next item is this is a resolution. We're requesting that the board commit some of our ending fund balance to a couple projects in the future. I want to give you a little history of this. As a result of Proposition 2, which was passed in 2014, next year, districts with more than 2,500 students, which Fulton School District is, will have a cap on their unassigned and their assigned ending balance in the general fund, and also special reserves, a cap of 10%. And so what triggered this? The reserve cap was triggered by 4 events that have taken place, 4 things where everything was aligned in the state of California. Won't go into the different tests to figure out the funding for Prop 98, but there are 3 tests, and one of the conditions to trigger the reserve cap was when the state uses Test 1. Test 1 is when the economy is doing great, the school districts get anywhere from 35 to 40% of those funds. It's not used that often, Test 1, but this year it is used and will be used for next year. When the Prop 98 maintenance factor prior to 2014-15 is fully paid. In years past, when the state had budget problems, they would hold back some money that we were owed. This is the maintenance factor. That has all been paid back since the last Great Recession. So check that one off. Prop 98 minimum guarantee is sufficient to fund attendance and COLA, which it is, and capital gains revenue for the state exceeds 8%, which, as we know, the stock market's at an all-time high. It's gone down a little bit, but for the most part, capital gains for last year were very high and continue to be coming in. And so a brief little history about why we're bringing this to the board tonight. After the Great Recession in 2009, some of you remember that, Fullerton School District began increasing their ending balance year over year. When that first hit, they had an ending balance below 10%, and over the years, it increased to a high of 28.5% in 2016. Because of the low reserve that the Fullerton School District had when the Great Recession hit, Fullerton School District had no other choice but to start cutting programs, implementing furlough days. I don't know if they had to borrow money at that time with deferrals. I can imagine they probably did, just to make payroll. Flash forward to 2020, the pandemic hits, and our district and districts throughout California were faced with deferrals. And we were hit hard. What the state normally pays us each month, they were withholding. What did most districts that did not have a reserve do? They had to go out and borrow money. We did not have to do that. We were able to make payroll. We didn't go to our employees and say, the money we're supposed to pay you in October, we'll pay you next May. We didn't do that. We were able to make payroll. And so we didn't have to borrow money. Unofficially, Fullerton School District has always maintained a balance anywhere between 17 and 20%. That's official. Unofficially, we've sort of committed those funds. We knew that's our rainy day fund. In the event of an emergency, a pandemic, we never would have thought that would have happened. We have the reserves. The average reserve in a district our size is about 17%. So to take that reserve down to a cap of 10% would be setting the district up in an emergency to not have the funds to meet its obligations. So now, due to Proposition 2, in order to maintain fiscal prudence, be fiscally prudent with a reserve over 10%, because we will have to keep that 10% cap, staff is recommending that the board commit $7.5 million of the ending balance for unforeseen facilities and maintenance repairs. As you know, We have schools that are 40, 50, 60 years old, and they are in need of repair. We are asking and requesting that the board commit $5 million of our ending balance in the event that facility repairs unexpected need to come up. $5 million sounds like a lot, but when you spread it out over 20 schools, it's only $250,000. The board action is required to commit these funds. It's required to commit them, and you can uncommit them if you decide to use the funds for something different. The other $2.5 million that we're asking to commit, for the last 2 years, we've had some unexpected declines in our enrollment. More so, the first year we thought we were going to go down about 200, and we went down 700. Now the state stepped in and held us harmless for a year or two. However, eventually, we are only funded on the students that we have. The governor has proposing a softer landing for next year, where it will ease because next year the hold harmless ends, and all of the 1,200 plus students that were down, the funding will go away. So the governor is proposing a soft landing where we won't get hit all at once. However, we still eventually will lose those funds. So unexpected declines in enrollment would be the reason to commit the $2.5 million. So with that, we are asking and requesting that the board approve the resolution to commit $7.5 million of the ending fund balance and set that aside in case of those emergencies.
Thank you.
And this law takes place, going to take effect July 1st of next year. However, we're asking that we do this now. In preparation, we will be coming up back in March to present the second interim report, and it would be reflected in that second interim report.
This is the law that they said would never trigger, right? Remember that? Oh,
Right.
it'll never trigger.
One of the things was test one. Test one is hardly ever used.
Right.
And also when the capital gains revenue is so high, above 8%. So they did not think it would happen.
Right.
But it did, and it's not a bad thing. However, to maintain a reserve less than 10% is a little risky when we've
been there
recently
before.
seen what has happened.
We don't want to do that again. All right, thank you. All right, any questions? No? All right, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll move to adopt the resolution 21/22-13, approval of committed fund balance general fund.
Okay.
I'll second.
And is it okay, it's a motion and it's seconded. Any other comments? I do remember when we had to borrow money and cut programs, and it wasn't fun. It was horrible, right, guys? I mean, it was horrible. Yes, okay, all right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We appreciate all of your hard work with all the financial calculations that you're having to make, so thank you. All right. Okay, where am I? All right. Oh, Janelle, are you on? Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Berryman and Board of Trustees, Cabinet members, Dr. Pletka. My name is Janelle Edlund, and I'm a coordinator in Educational Services. And I am here today to provide you an overview of how we came to make a recommendation to you to adopt a new 7th and 8th grade history curriculum as known as McGraw-Hill Impact. Thank you. Appreciate that. So the first thing that we did was make sure that our work would be grounded in a framework and values. And the framework is the History Social Studies framework from the state. It's a pretty long framework. There are 6 key elements that we use from that framework to guide our work in thinking about what does good history teaching look like, what does good curriculum look like. Those key elements, as you can see there, include content, the inclusion of multiple and diverse perspectives, skill building, the student experience, types of instructional supports, and a variety of assessment. But we also wanted to ground our work in what's important to Fullerton. And so the key Fullerton values that we grounded our work in was accessibility for all students, the inclusion of multiple and diverse perspectives, and academic rigor. So then we started gathering feedback from our educational partners. This process was from January through October, so most of last year. These are all the different groups that were involved. We had 14 teachers, 77 parents signed up to be part of our review committee, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And we had 20 to 40 show up regularly at our, I think we had 3 meetings. And we had 2,000 students respond to our surveys, and then 11 of us in educational services spent some time going through the curriculum as well. And of course, the recommendation that we have made to the board for adoption is McGraw-Hill, and their curriculum is called Impact. So we started out with a pilot teacher committee back in January during COVID, and that actually extended through the fall. In the spring, we did 2 pilots that were about 6 weeks long. We debriefed with the teachers after each pilot using a reflection tool that was guided by the framework as well. And then in the fall, we were asked actually, part of the recommendation from teachers was to extend the pilot into the fall so that they could try to use it under normal teaching and learning conditions, at least more normal. We also did some other debriefs, including having the teachers come to the district, and we had a lot of conversation around the framework and the 6 key elements as well on both publishers, both National Geographic and McGraw-Hill. And so we gathered feedback on the strengths and concerns from the teachers. We also did the same type of process with our parent advisory committee. That happened in the fall. We had 3 different meetings. As I said, there were about 20 to 40 parents that showed up at each of those. That was great. We took them also through the adoption process, what the history social studies framework is. We went over the reflection tool with them. And we also were able to have the publishers come through Zoom and do some breakout rooms with them and give them a preview of what they thought, of course, the strengths of the curriculum were. And then the parents were able to ask questions as well. And then the parents had 2 weeks to get online and kind of get into the curriculum and see what they thought and explore it. We came back together, did a debrief, and again looked at strengths and concerns of each publisher. So in looking at McGraw-Hill, this is some of the feedback from the entire process, but McGraw-Hill was found to be very accessible to all students, both online but also offline, and that was a really key component, even students being able to do assignments offline and use like the highlighting feature, that sort of a thing. But we also found that this curriculum was embedded in every lesson and every chapter, not only with standards, but also tools and instructional strategies to differentiate for different learning needs, including English learners, GATE students, as well as students below level. And it also has a text-to-voice feature. Ooh. Impact also is very inclusive of multiple and diverse perspectives. It's compliant with the FAIR Act. And it embeds inclusive language. It also has a special app called Sync Blast, and it's updated weekly, and it's weekly current events, and those are all actually tied to the content. So they're not just kind of independent, they actually tie to the content, and they have assignments related to that as well to make the content more meaningful.
Do we have any control over that? I mean, meaning the teacher. Current events are coming in and they can be interpreted. Right now we have the issue with Russia. Would they be able to just flash it in and put their own opinion, or do they have to give a teacher a heads up before it gets put in the text?
Does McGraw-Hill have to give them a heads up? Is that what you're saying? I don't think the teacher gets an alert necessarily that there's like new current events being posted. I think that's what you're asking. But teachers, can definitely go in, of course, before students can see it and sort of preview that to see if it aligns with the curriculum, but also to avoid, I think, what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of academic rigor, we found, not just we, but the whole process found that impact was very rich in content, both in breadth and depth, and that, again, it was embedded with standards within every lesson and chapter. And it's also, if you just think about the title, it took me a few months to really realize this, but the title impact, that's what the whole curriculum is about, is to promote students making an impact in the community. So it's promoting citizenship in a very intentional way through every chapter and lesson, and through the current events as well. And there's lots of tools to help students learn, and it also provides teachers 3 different pathways to teach each unit. That was a quick overview. Are there any questions about the process or the curriculum?
No, I think we all really appreciate having copies of the textbook I think we had enough time to look at things and get a hold of that. So thank you for postponing it and giving us that time to do the work.
Especially because this is something we spend so much time and money on, and we have it for a while. So thank you for going through this process with us.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for considering it for adoption.
Anybody? Okay.
Yeah.
This is a total of about $500,000. How much of it do we get from the state? And I know the state gives us money towards our books, but I know that we have to also pay. Does anyone?
They used to have an instructional material fund. And when we went to LCFF, they basically took the money that was given at that time as a categorical, and they rolled it into the LCFF.
Yeah.
So right now, it's no longer a separate fund for it.
It's just unrestricted. Yeah.
In essence, we got credit for it. We could argue about the credit we got, but anyway, it did get rolled in at the time.
All right.
Well, I wanted to compliment our staff for getting so much free stuff.
Yep. The bag of free stuff.
Almost $73,000, just so people can hear that, which is a lot of money. And so, even so, we're going to have to pay $464,000, which is a lot of money. But thank you very much for taking the time and energy to save us all that money. That's really great.
All right.
I was going to ask, why only a 8-year lease? Or lease licensing for this?
So that's the max available. I don't know if that's a state max or cap, but that's the license that gives us the greatest discount.
Also, just in terms of rollover, usually an instructional adoption is about 8 years. And so they kind of go through the curriculum, language arts, mathematics, science, social studies, and then they kind of start from the beginning. That cycle typically is about 8 years.
We'll do this again in 8 years. Because something else will be new that we'll have to add.
Yeah, no, thank you for that.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve and adopt McGraw-Hill, the new 7th and 8th grade history and social studies textbooks and online curriculum with an 8-year license.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Anybody have anything else to add? No? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
You might as well stay up there.
Yeah. I have a much longer report coming. Okay, thank you. Okay, my next report, again from Educational Services, is our mid-year report on the 2021-2022 2022 Local Control and Accountability Plan, otherwise known as Lcap. This is actually a one-time report, and it is unique because of all of the one-time increased funding that we are receiving from the state and the federal government. So there are several requirements of this report. First of all, the first piece of it is known as the supplement to the annual update to the Lcap, which is a little confusing. And then we also will update you on how all this money has impacted our budget overview for parents, which is part of our Lcap. And then finally, I'll update you on anything we have mid-year in terms of expenditures and progress on implementation, as well as data related to our metrics and our goals. So one of the first requirements of the supplemental update is to describe how we engaged our educational partners in providing feedback on the design of our plans. One of the first sorry, I didn't realize the screen would be so far away. I'm going to have to kind of read it. The first source of money I want to kind of go over is from the state. It was the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant. It's just a year's worth of funding, but it's $11.8 million to provide learning outside the school day. And the feedback that was included in the design of that plan was from the entire annual process that we take to write the Lcap. So that included stakeholder feedback from our advisory committee meetings, as well as community surveys and student surveys, teacher feedback, DLAC, PTA groups, so a wide range of groups. But we also gathered specific feedback. Principals helped us with that by gathering teacher and staff input into different ideas and priorities for expanded learning. We also have received a little over $2.7 million through the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, or EEBG, for professional development specifically. So not only did we use the feedback from the Lcap process, but we also surveyed all staff, certificated and classified staff, to get input from them on how we could prioritize the professional development planning. The third pot of money is a little bigger, $21 million to use over the next 4 years until 2024. It's federal money. It's the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, otherwise known as ESSER 3. And it is targeted specifically to provide continuous and safe in-person learning, as well as addressing lost instructional time. Sorry about that. Again, we used all the feedback from previous planning, but then we also surveyed local civil rights organizations to expand the input.
Were they surprised?
Probably. It was a requirement of all districts to gather feedback from civil rights groups. So it was great that I think I could only find like 7 or 8, but we had a really great return rate. So that was exciting. And they spent some time providing some comments as well. So
And it was a
nice.
diverse group, so.
Yeah. Okay, another requirement is to explain how we are using the ESSER funding. So in terms of continuous and safe in-person learning, we've spent, as you can see here, about $3.3 million as of December 31st of last year on activities related to ensuring schools can stay open and safe for learning for both teachers and students. And all those activities are aligned to Lcap goal number 3, action 5. We've spent about $1.3 million out of the $7 million budgeted for addressing lost instructional time on activities related to supporting students' mental health, summer and after-school programs, and accelerating learning and the use of and provision of technology. And as you can see there, those actions align to goals 1, 2, and 3. There's also kind of a catch-all category called Other, and those are for any activities necessary to maintain operation and continuity of services. And we've spent $5.2 million of the $5.9 budgeted for that category. So overall, sorry about that. We've spent a little over 9.8 million of the 21 million. And again, that funding goes through 2024. In terms of successes and challenges in implementing ESSER, we have several successes. Some key ones are the fact that we have been able to keep schools open and offer safe in-person learning at our schools. Also, we have really started embedding district-wide social-emotional learning curriculum into regular instruction, and also expanded staff capacity to provide that support as well. We've also significantly increased our intervention supports and services and continued offering, and in some cases even expanding, our enrichment programs. Challenges include increased student needs, not only academically, but also social emotionally in terms of mental health and wellness. And there was also a sudden increase in the numbers of independent study students right after the break. So that was a challenge that we met. Another source, new source of state funding for us is concentration funding. Concentration funding is actually part of the local control funding formula, where we get our base funding, we get supplemental funding, and then we are now, for the first time, eligible for this additional funding called concentration funding. This year we'll be receiving over $861,000. The reason why we are eligible this year is that the unduplicated count of our English learners, foster youth, and low-income students has met or exceeded, the 55% threshold. So we're at 56.7%, I think. We're a little over 56% over the last 3 years, I think 60% for this year. And so we now receive extra funding. But this year, everyone that is eligible for concentration funding also gets an additional add-on of 15%. And that funding must be spent to increase numbers of staff at schools in our district that have over the 55% of unduplicated students. And we are in the planning phases of using this money. So it's a new update. And finally, for the supplemental update, just to wrap that up, this is an update to our budget overview, which is part of our Lcap. You can see what the projected amounts were in that first column. That's what got approved and reported through our Lcap. And then, of course, you can see the current budget amounts. And overall, the difference is over $39.7 million. Okay, now I'd like to update you on our Lcap expenditures, progress on implementation, as well as the available metrics that we have. So here's a quick update on what we budgeted for each goal, as well as the expenditures to date as of, again, December of last year. And then we just demonstrate our progress by showing a percent implemented dollar-wise. All those dollars, of course, associate specifically with goals and actions. And in your addendum, it has the specific dollar amount and expenditures for every single action area. So this is very high level. In looking at available metrics for the Lcap, goal number 1, academic achievement, we have 3 different metrics that are available to report. The first one is our reclassification rate for our English learners. You can see our baseline when we wrote the Lcap was 13.1% in 2019. And our goal, of course, is that that percent would increase annually. You can see in the 2021 reclassification rate, which is the latest that we have, the rate is actually 7%. This is notably lower, of course, than the 13%. But the fact that it aligns so closely to the state rate, I think is really, just really speaks to the challenge of teaching all students, but especially English learners during COVID, when teaching and learning conditions are so different. Just the fact that students are in the classroom interacting and speaking with their peers, seeing modeling from their teacher, and collaborating with others, all of that has a big impact on the rate of development in language. But also just the different testing conditions. There are 3 different tests actually that are used to decide reclassification. And those are all very formal tests that normally require a very formal environment. And in this case, a lot of students took the test in different areas that maybe they weren't used to, for example, at home. And then there was absenteeism, there was quarantining. So there's a lot of factors that go into that number. Looking at the other 2 metrics, basic conditions, we're 100% compliant this year on that. Basic conditions include proper teacher assignments, for example, as well as access to standards-based curriculum. We're also at 100% of students having access to a broad course of study. Okay, looking at goal number 2, technology and digital literacy, there are 3 metrics to report here. The first metric is related to access to high-quality digital resources, and the second one is access to Google accounts. You can see our baseline was 100% for those. The goal, of course, is to stay at 100%, and we currently are at 100% on both of those. And we are still gathering the data for the percentage of teachers who have taught 3 digital citizenship literacy lessons. But we'll have that for you when we present the next year's Lcap. Goal number 3, safe and secure schools. Again, we have 3 metrics to report here. Attendance rate, again, you can see the baseline number, 98.1%. Just a reminder, this is a pre-COVID number because the attendance rate was only from August through March of 2020. And of course, again, the desired outcome is to maintain or increase that rate. Looking at last year's data, we were really close to that at 97.83%. And a mid-year report on that is 95.51% as of the end of December. And we expect that to grow. Looking at chronic absenteeism in 2019-2020, the baseline amount was 4.49%. We want that number to, or that percentage to decrease annually. In 2020-21, we saw that the absenteeism rate was 5.2%. A little higher than our baseline, but it's so much lower than the state rate. So I think that really speaks to all the efforts in our district of making sure schools, students have different options for attending school and also that they are attending. In 2019-20, our baseline suspension rate was 1.2%. We want to maintain or decrease that annually. And the latest data we have for that is 0.10%, 0.1, half the rate of the state at 0.2. So that's good news as well. And finally, our 4th goal, parent and community engagement. We don't have any data to report on this, but I just wanted to show you that next month we will be collecting survey feedback related to parent perceptions of their role in decision making in the school and engagement with the school and engagement in their child's learning. And we're also looking to get their perception on accessibility to different educational opportunities like workshops. And that is it for the mid-year update to the Lcap. Are there any questions?
Questions? A lot of work. Thank you so much.
It's a team effort for sure. You're welcome. Thank you.
Anybody have anything? No? Okay. All right. And this is just a report, correct? Yep. Okay.
Yes, just a report. Yes, you do not need to approve anything.
Thank you so much for all your time and effort in this. Is this going to be on the website for people to view? It's already there? Okay. All right. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Janelle. All right, Dr. Hammett.
Yes, I'll be presenting item B, which is the first read of Board Policy 6170.1 on transitional kindergarten. This board policy needed to be updated as a result of the implementation of universal transitional kindergarten. So the governor and the state legislature are working on developing universal transitional kindergarten. So there are two changes to the board policy. One is changing the dates so that between next school year, the 2023 school year, and by the time that we hit the 2025 and 2026 school year, the eligibility birth dates for transitional kindergarten will be increasing by 2 months every year. By the time we get to the 25-26 school year, students who were born as of September 1st of that year will be able to be admitted to transitional kindergarten. The other component that's been added is the credentialing requirements for individuals who teach transitional kindergarten, and we've added those as well to this board policy. There's no action required tonight. We'll be bringing this board policy back to our next meeting, and if board members have any comments or any questions, they can definitely reach out to myself or to Dr. Lee.
Right. Thank you for clarifying those dates. That was a little confusing, so thank you.
Very
You're welcome.
Are they going to have, required kindergarten one day, now that they have universal TK?
It's very interesting
Sorry.
right now. There actually is a current piece of legislation
Yeah.
going through to turn kindergarten from optional into a
mandatory.
compulsory grade level.
Yeah.
We'll see how far that legislation goes.
Yeah, hasn't gone very far yet, so, thank you. All right. It's still your show over there, right? You've got a couple more
Yes, I have the
things.
next item, which is item C. This is the first read of our pupil attendance calendar for the 2023-2024 school year. We always attempt to have 2 years' worth of school calendars out so families can make plans and try to prepare for their school year in addition to our staff. This calendar was developed with a committee that involved parents, involved classified staff members, certificated staff members, and administrators. And the process is to look at the school calendar and compare that to the high school calendar, because we're in this very well-balanced ecosystem here in our community where we have a high school and an elementary district, and we have to make sure that the school systems are working together to develop a calendar that meets the needs of both ends. So that is the school calendar you will find here.
All right, thank you. And this is just a first
So,
read, too.
Now
Yes.
that we have a new superintendent of the high school district, you guys know what's coming. Asking teachers to come back to work on the 9th of August doesn't feel like a real summer vacation or break or whatever. And I would again suggest that we go back and ask the new superintendent, does he have data to show that starting school early in August makes an academic difference for the testing of his students for AP and IB? If not, I would respectfully ask him to at least give us 1 week later in bringing back students and staff to school. We've never gotten any response about getting data to show that this makes a difference.
We will make that request and see if we can get
Thank
some
you.
data for our board.
Respectfully.
Respectfully, yes.
Thank you.
And again, if the board has any questions or any comments on the calendar before we bring that back to our next board meeting, please reach out.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
All right, our next item is item D, and this is making one revision to our pupil attendance calendar for the current school year, the 2021-2022 school year. Now that we have recognized Juneteenth as a holiday, you'll notice that June 20th, the holiday normally falls on June 19th, but because of it falls on a weekend, it moves to the Monday, and now June 20th will be a district holiday. So there won't be any classes that day. It does not impact the majority of our students. However, it will impact students in our summer programs. So we want to make sure that it's added to our student attendance calendar.
Okay.
And then item E, which is the first reading of our pupil attendance calendar for the 2022-2023 school year, next school year. Same revision. We've added the Juneteenth holiday, which you'll see on Monday, June 19th, 2023, when we want to make sure that's there so parents who have students in summer programs will be aware that there will be no classes on those days.
Okay. All right. So we should get back to you if we have any other questions before the next.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Busy, busy, busy. Okay. Now we're on to board member requests for future items. Is there anyone that would like to bring up anything to consider for a future board agenda?
Yeah, I would. I would like to see, Mark brought this up, and so science camp. I would like to kind of maybe highlight a school or two and just kind of get to know how many schools are attending science camp, what kind of science camps they're attending. And yeah, just kind of do a little highlight, presentation on science camps with different schools, maybe highlighting one that's potentially virtual, or if they actually went in person. Just kind of encourage some folks to know that that's still happening, again, even with COVID. So it'd be great if you can do that. Thank you.
Mark, you'll have to bring some pictures.
Yeah.
Make a little YouTube video. Okay, good idea. All right, anybody else? Okay, well, on that note, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:05. Thank you.
Yay.